For those of you who are new to growing eggplant, it's one vegetable that really is not what we'd call foolproof. And there's some tips I'd like to give you on having success with it. First of all, pick out some healthy transplants, and by that I mean ones that have nice deep green foliage. Now ours have a slightly peppered appearance. These have been growing in our greenhouse. They have a little bit of thrip damage. If you've been growing them indoors and see that type of damage, you can probably control it with a little bit of insecticidal soap sprayed frequently. But the main thing is to grow your eggplant in rich soil, high in organic matter, out in full sun. Now we've done a soil test on our soil and found that it already has plenty of phosphorus and potassium in it. So we worked in some Osmocote ahead of time that contains only nitrogen to keep them fed throughout the season. Another tip is space them far enough apart. They need to be at least 2 feet apart in the garden in order to succeed. Also with eggplant, try some of the new varieties. We have a couple of varieties here that are of Asian origin that Bill Smith in Oklahoma City donated to us to try. And the neat thing about them is some of them have such tender skin that they do not need to be peeled, and we're real excited about that. We also have an old variety that will also be in our heirloom garden called Early Long Purple, and we think that's going to be a good one as well. Now another tip with eggplant is that it really needs to be grown vigorously throughout the season and to be kept healthy. And by that we mean you want to have foliage that is plenty healthy. And we learned a tip a few years ago from a market gardener near Oklahoma City on how to keep eggplant looking good in Oklahoma throughout the season, because it really is a magnet for pests. And what he taught us is that once you get it established in the garden, if you'll give it a routine foliar feeding of a combination of liquid seaweed and fish emulsion as a foliar feeding in which you spray it on and the nutrients are absorbed through the foliage, you'll end up with tougher eggplants overall. And we don't mean the fruit. The plants themselves become more pest hardy by doing this practice. So that's something that you might try in the garden in order to ward off pests. There's an interesting phenomenon that occurs with these two products, especially in combination, is that the tissues of the plant actually become tougher and more able to resist pest attacks. So try that with your eggplant. Keep a close watch on pests, and hopefully you'll be able to have an easier harvest than if you just plant them and end up with a large pest problem in your garden.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.